capped off in game number 1. We'll see what happens in game number 2.
Starting. Let's go. We missed the first carousel, doesn't matter. We're looking at KC Double, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that won game number 1, our EMEA hero, and he has a bow.
Yeah, kicking off with a bow, finding a tier right off the bat from that one. Dan, I'm curious how in favor you are of slamming the tempo items in this one just to preserve health. Like, is Shiv something that's really on your radar?
It kind of depends on the situation. If one, you have to have a good Shiv item holder, and 2, the purpose of slamming preserving HP is whether or not you can either streak from that or benefit greatly. If you're going to be losing anyways or in a win-loss, I don't think slamming Shiv is worth it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and we are getting the Mirage overlay coming in the top right corner. That's going to be Spell Swords, and usually when it's Spell Swords, there is a little bit of a beeline going on.
Yeah, Spell Sword definitely changes a lot of the ways that you have to look at Mirage. You have your eye on Deja mostly when it's enhancing damage at the end of that spot. But Spell Swords is kind of a unique one because a lot of times you're putting an Archangel Staff on to Deja. You want to like a little bit of sustain there. You know, sometimes we've seen Guardian Emblem slammed onto a Deja. I feel like with this one, you're okay to just slam a bunch of bow items onto a Deja and you know, dust your hands and call it a day.
That's so interesting because you're right. A lot of people think, oh, Rage Blade or RFC, which is really good as we take a look at the 2-1 augments, but it kind of depends on their itemization. Some people just slam whatever powerful AP items they can get as well.
Yeah, and in come all of the augments. Some players picking really, really quickly. I see a build different offered for KC Double is not going to go for it. Goes instead in a little bit of a fiery direction, but some players are still open for it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the people who have choices. Like, for example, Soju could pick Dark Flight Crest. Soju's very confident in his Dark Flight play specifically. And so he has called it out to me as a composition that he's going to play. Dasik chose to reroll and only has 10 seconds left. Has opportunity for Loot Master, Thrill, or Lagoon, which pushes him all specific directions, except for Thrill, which keeps him generic. Ooh. Chooses Lagoon, which is a little bit unusual. Not many people are often making that choice. We'll see whether or not it pays off for him.
It's kind of a pretty risky take in this one, but you know, I'm pretty confident in Dasik's ability to call when they should commit to a composition. I do feel like this is one of those spots. A lot of this has to do with the fact that you have the Morellos ready, that you have a belt on the bench, that you have early Lagoon. Everything kind of lines up right now for this to be the take, because one of the most powerful things you can do about Lagoon is unlock the later powerful stacks. The earlier you get those rolling, the more likely you are to snowball the board.
Yeah, if you look at the data of how compositions performed across regionals and in-houses, the composition that gets the most eighths is Lagoon, but their win rate's actually quite high. So if you're able to stabilize and clear that am I going eighth barrier, then you're probably a likely player to potentially even win the lobby.
And speaking of a player that won a lobby title in that previous game, actually went with the Lagoon Mages and got a first place. So we already know that this comp can do pretty well at Worlds.
That's true. I wasn't aware of that, and that's really good information. I'm sure other players are going to adapt. Pay attention to how players are even like thinking about compositions. They might see other people perform well with tech that's hidden, right? They practice with everybody in scrims, but they prepare by themselves. Maybe there's some secret tech to comps that we don't know about that people are going to pay attention to.
Yeah, and for those of you who've been paying attention to the boards that we've been kind of jumping around to, there's a really big thing I want to point out in this one. When players are very confident in the lines they're going to take, they tend to slam these items early on. It's not just the players who think they can put on a win streak. A lot of times, it's very important to conserve your items and build the most ideal things you can, because the caps on the boards tend to be very high. So if you don't have ideal items, you are inherently gunning for that 4th place spot. I'm loving what I'm seeing around the lobbies right now. Players holding on to them because they don't have a clear direction.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see Double 61 says, you know what, Rage Blade is just generically good with Sunfire. I can play pretty much anything with that. Like, Rage Blade is quite an open slam. AP comps can use it, AD comps can use it. He can even still go back into like a Deja point. You mentioned Rage Blade being a common item there. And also, Double 61 is known to be a player that can play all kinds of mid-game boards. That's why he's one of the most exciting players for me to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing that too. It's just players who are so open and don't necessarily commit to early lines. It's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, and KC Double is currently building out some extra board strength. We are in round 2-3. We have an Ezreal 2 if we should so feel inclined to put it in. But for now, it's just going to be the Yone with a little bit of a beefier front line, and I feel pretty great about this start.
It's pretty interesting that, do they swap it at the very, very end there? Nope, Ezreal 2 still on the bench. This is a pretty interesting take on this one, valuing the Mirage higher than a 2-star unit that's cranking extra damage, Dan.
There's just no synergy with Ezreal. Doesn't have the Swift Shot, and also he has a Yone pair, so it's like awkward because if you put the Ezreal in, you put Ezreal with not a Rage Blade to sell the Yone. Doesn't feel really good. So I think Double 61 saying, I'm just going to roll with this, and I think my board is quite strong enough. He sold the Ezreal and even pre-leveled. That's how committed he is to the current state of the board.
I'm actually a little bit worried because we saw a very similar tendency from Double 61 in the EMEA finals, but very early he had a Lilia with some great items. He had a second Lilia on the bench, and he ended up going bottom 4 because he was never able to finish off that Lilia 3 that he was looking for at the time. But for now, we're going to go into the carousel here, and we see Soju is on 30 gold.
Wow, but he finds a Rengar with a belt, and he's playing Darkflight. He has that open sword, can make that Zeeks. So yeah,
big deal.
He's rich. All in TFT and in
he's
real
handsome.
life. He's handsome. He's good looking. He's hangs with the
charismatic.
hottest dudes. He wears the freshest clothes. And he also
I'm
has
just
a
gonna
belt
let
and a
you
Zeeks.
guys going
I
with
thought you had
this.
something
No,
to add to this as well.
no.
Okay.
Please be my guest.
That's right.
He's giving thumbs up to us
40
here.
gold now.
40 gold. Wow, he's insanely rich. So the question would be, how much does Soju roll at 3-2 at level 6 to try to stabilize? Because Soju has one big weaknesses in his mid game historically, which was that he over-rolls and as a result sabotages his ability to play for an even higher cap and higher finish.
At that same time, though, you know, a big thing that sabotaged him was his weakness is that he was too greedy at times as well.
It's true. He's like swinging on the pendulum.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Bebe about this Darkflight comp, one of the biggest things he highlighted was the power that you have because you can roll on level 6.
He just sold off the Rengar debt he had, so right now does have the belt available. Did slam it to get that Zeeks. Is of course not going to have the unit for now, but I feel like with the direction he's given, he already locked into the Darkflight. He already locked into the Zeeks, so he's not going to roll for Astrals here.
Yeah, not really rolling there. And also, as we take a look at Fritz, just the last note on Soju, he does have an open option to roll at 7 as well. Some people say, you know what, rolling at 3-2 isn't even good enough. I'm going to play the Swain variant that wants to play a lot of Rengars. Yeah. I might have to go to 7 a little bit earlier and roll for that instead.
Just taking a look at Fritz. You know what? This is something I did not see immediately. It's the Goldmancers.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah.
This is the most powerful thing you can have on the Shimmer scale.
It is. And if you're able to farm even just 1 or 2 times during the stage, it can just make profound difference of making that interest gold and getting that much more ahead in econ. Also, his board's not even that bad. So the fact that he's win-loss, but he's making 20 gold, which is often the goal that you have for full win streaking, he's actually in a pretty decent spot.
It's like the best thing you can have, 20 gold, 5 win streak.
Yeah.
I rarely see the 30 gold, 5 win streak.
Speaking of great things you can have, Shungo currently on Ascension with a 4 win streak, does not have as much gold as Soju, but has built out a pretty strong board here.
I mean, this guy's just a beast. I mean, look at it. He has a whole 2-star upgraded frontline, but no frontline items. Instead, is going to rely purely on synergies and tankiness and let this Ezreal with Ascension able to take down Binsum. And Stringa with a 5 streak is scary. This guy, I feel like the only time you can kill him is if he misses while he's lose streaking. When he's from a win streak position, this guy is one of the best, if not the best player in China.
Yeah, when you're highlighting someone for their late game strength, and then they also have the win streak early on, that's like, oh no. Yep.
Absolutely. That's what players must be thinking right now. Something that might worry me a little bit, just looking on the right side of the screen as we are in the PvE round, Soju on 60 HP.
Yeah, Soju's on 60 HP, but he wanted a 5 streak, so he guaranteed his loss with the Astrals. I want to make another note here. Stringa has 3 components total, meaning that he started off 2 at the very beginning. Being able to create a streak with 2 item components means that you're going to trade off economy for power early on. He was able to streak and make the economy, so Stringa's in a doubly good position because he started off gold, extra gold, and still managed to put 5 dubs on the board.
It's an excellent highlight.
Absolutely. We are gonna see where players go next.
Oh my
goodness. Gosh.
Just gonna find Deja. And so, actually, you know, I'm
You're
getting
treating this very
flashbacks.
badly right now, Megs. This is a huge fight.
No, see, the thing is, I've been here before. I watched the Chinese regionals, and I want to say the pretty much exact same thing happened for Shungo. It's like so crazy. How can a player get Mortdog that much? It's
yeah, that is not normally. Check in PC. I don't know how Shinga is able to get Deja here at 3-1, which is also kind of exactly what he needed. He was having problems scaling that Ezreal. Now he has Ascension, so he has basically a clock. You have to get through my front line. He slams the Sunfire Cape very astutely to try to take down Double 61. And if Double 61 with this 2-star Yone can snap the streak, that would be huge for the Frenchman.
That just absolutely would be one of the worst things that can happen too, is getting that streak broken as well. It's the 2 players at the top battling for right now. The Ascension hits, the Deja's got some stacks, but that Yone is untouched. Is that enough though?
That is so big for Double 61 and kind of painful for Shunga.
Yeah, that was pretty bad for Shunga. We were hoping for him to accelerate the win streak he had going on. Did not work out. However, Golden Augments once again gonna come in here. Let's see where the players go for this. I see a better together on Soju's side, who was running the Dark Flights, so that's an insta-pick.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to be playing Zeeks. Now you can even justify stacking multiple of them. You can even play a, like a lock-in base strategy, stacking multiple of them to protect the Rengar. So there's a lot of different ways you can utilize it. Someone else also has better together. It's Slooper in the bottom left. Ends up going for Stand United instead, and looks like he's going for that Jade composition that Shunga was able to use last game.
Yeah, Jades can inherently have a lot of different stacks on the board. You don't have to necessarily stack a tall vertical Jade kind of build. You want the extra numbers on the board. That is the big benefit of a composition like Jade. You're just trying to be more stacked than your opponents right now.
Hopping on board with Soju, who is not rolling at 6, by the way. Looks like he's going to go for that 7 that we talked about. So sack 1 or 2 more rounds. If he wins this round, he'll really want to win the next round. He's going against Double 61, though, so I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, because Double 61 has been quite strong, but that big spike from Better Together might swing things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. The board that Soju has will take a win here. I'm not sure the Yone is going to clutch this one out for KC Double. And like you said, he will be looking for wins now. However, 60 gold he has at the moment, looking pretty rich and healthy going into this Dark Flight angle, and really showing how much HP can be a resource here to optimize your economy. I love that.
That's right. This is a great spot. Oh, an unusual role here. And this is something that defines Soju's mid-game. He sees TFT fluidly, hits Adephilios too, which is great. That Locket is now going to boost in power, hits another Rel, can immediately play that for additional Zeeks on the board. This is what Soju has changed the most of his gameplay. He sees TFT not as flowchart, but as something very malleable.
Still rolling.
And he's still committing to the role. Hits a Rengar, which is what he was looking for.
Lovely. Exactly what he needed. Is going to meet up with Beantum, who has also found an Ezreal and an Ascension. We're kind of seeing the little brother of Shungo's board earlier on. However, at this point in the game 3-3, that's not going to be enough to get anything in front of K3 Soju's win.
If Soju ends up top 4ing and maybe even doing better in that from that position, this is the play of the game for him, because so many people would not roll there. They would say, I'm going to 7, but Soju said, hey, I snapped my losing streak. That means I need to start winning. I highlighted at 3-2. Says, I'm going to roll until I'm stronger. That is excellent TFT, and I love seeing that.
Absolutely. Now, what I else love seeing is our players in this carousel and what they go for. There is a belt and a sword open. Let's see if somebody is going to pick it up, but for now, it doesn't seem like it.
And Dasik able to get a 4 gold tier when you've pretty hard committed to Lagoon early on. That is a big difference. It doesn't seem like much often, but that 4 gold sometimes boosts that economy to the next level. You get 30 gold, you get to 40 gold, you get to 50 gold, and again, it creates that snowballing effect. That's inherently what every single player is looking for.
It's true, and you're racking up all those resources with Lagoon as well. So, assuming that he's on that line, we're hopping on board with Dasik.
The emote.
is going towards what looks like to be the Shimmer line. Look, Lagoon Emblem on Itis. That's not something you see every day.
Okay, so I was a little bit worried about Dasik going into this, just looking at HP totals. I know he found the Lagoon early on, but he does have the Idas on board, just found the Kai'Sa too. We were talking about it earlier with the Goldmancer. She's just so excellent with this. Now also having the Shojin on there, that Kai'Sa should do a lot of damage.
This is so abstract. I mean, Dasik's just playing pure TFT, right? He has a board that you don't normally aim for with Lagoon Emblem on the Itis as a cherry on top. Can he find a way to take down this intimidating Jade board from Slooper, who has just a lot of sturdy units, carrying a Nidalee 2, which is a little bit past her expiration date, but still good for a couple rounds. And Dasik is just not killing things fast enough. In fact, he's not killing anything at all.
There's a Yasuo? from Slooper.
That is also true. Yasuo's a pretty good unit to get at this point in the game.
That is a pretty good unit to get at this point in the game, especially if your Thief's Gloves gives you 2 redemption and the Yasuo just doesn't die. So that one really eking it out for Slooper.
And on the upper side, Dasic's in big trouble. We'll catch up him in a little bit, but I mean, when you have this early of a Yasuo, people forget about Yasuo. From Dragonlands at 7.0, everyone's talking about Yasuo this, Yasuo that. But it seems like he's fallen off at 7.5.
It has fallen off quite a bit, but there's one thing that's still highlighted about Yasuo, and that's the CC that he has. When he's jumping around the board and he is nailing these big stuns at critical times, all the boards right now are trying to get a chain effect where you are able to sweep your opponent's board. Again, highlighting that snowball effect that you're trying to create in this set. When you have this Yasuo this early, you are absolutely not only favored to take down fights, but you have that utility later on to have the CC.
Fully agree.
Absolutely. We're going to see just how much that Yasuo can do here. Hasaki coming in, knocking up basically Casey Double's entire board. And I don't think that Yone is going to clutch that one out. Is going to get lifted one more time. And the Nidalee, she's getting stuck on a little teddy bear. He might actually win.
It's a Rage Blade scaling diff in the Ascension. Casey Double actually gets a pretty crucial win. Looks like he was doing very well, 100 or almost close to 100 HP, but now at 74. And we're looking at who is going on the bottom there. K3 Soju is streaking at 52 HP alongside My Paradise. Things are heating up.
We're seeing that like classic, spot where the bottom side of the lobby starts to flip in this mid to late game, and then that's where the chaos collides. When do you have to fully commit to a spot like this? Dasic, though, sitting in last place at the HP, but it's not this canyon effect that we're seeing across the board. It's more of that cascading effect of the life totals.
And he just found a win after having a loss before, so for him, it is going to be really, really essential to find another win in the next round. You don't want to keep on going with this really not econ generating mode, so he needs to find something. Does find a second Idas, does find an upgrade on the Zac. Is he going to continue rolling? Yes, he is. Looking, finding the Silas too. One more, there it goes. Does find a Siphon and a Zaya. Not necessarily what he's looking for, but we're talking about Dasic. He might just feel inclined to pick it up and look for dragons.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to shift this pretty big as well and say, you know what, I'm done with the dragon effect. I have enough gold to work with here. It's time to shift the board and start focusing on preserving my health.
And this is with the power of Lagoon. You're able to roll on 7 and stabilize. Even if you don't have Soam, I think a lot of people tunnel too hard on it and say, I have to go to 8 and roll for Soam and Neela. But this is a pretty stable board. But he's going up against Shioyu too with Benton, who has 3 items. Celestial Blessing Ascension. This is the item combination that you're looking for in particular when you're playing Jade, because it scales at Shioyu. No Edge of Night to pull aggro away from it, so Kaisa is targeting it. But there's just too much pressure coming the other way. D6 has another loss. You looked at desperation. He did not want to see 13 damage at 4-1.
No, definitely not. And I feel like he's right there at being able to, again, hit that tipping point, but it's just not there yet. I mean, a Shioyu 2 on 4-1 in this economy, it's also just one of the naturally bad matchups that you're going to have. A team that inherently has just Mystics at hand.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. We are going to go into the augments. However, 2 players insta-picked. The rest is still going. We have some rerolls available. These are the last augments, so you might just want to redo them, but doesn't seem like players want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple players rerolled already, so they have fewer options. Really interesting choice from Casey Double in the top middle, going for pay to win. Having that Gold Mancer is going to be really strong. And Fat Fricks has the same exact option as well, but you know, whether or not he ends up going for it, he has to choose a reroll, but he only has 10 seconds left. Ends up going for Big Friend too. I think it's a really underrated augment. Damage reduction is really strong, especially if you can combo with really high HP things like Guardians or Bruisers, so we'll see whether or not he's able to capitalize on it.
Absolutely. For now, we are checking in with Casey Double, who, similar to Shunga earlier, has found a data with the Goldmancers and a Yasuo, so really has that Spell Sword enchantment unlocked on these 5 Mirage. And let's just see how this one plays out. Enemy board did find a Zoom, but the Zoom doesn't seem to be doing so much damage here.
Well, I mean, Deja does get stuck onto the sides. The sides has lived for pretty much the entire fight, and that might at least preserve HP. So yes, Dasig again, still free-falling, but that was a sign of improvement. The only problem is, we don't have many rounds left we can afford to give away HP.
No, we really cannot. But, you know, again, it kind of highlights the sign that Dasik made the right call, at least, where he said, you know what, I can't focus on economy anymore. I have to focus on health. Despite that, he's still been losing the rounds. But, you know, you're holding on as much as you can. Again, looking for that tipping point. It's not always going to be there. Somebody does have to go 8th. And for Dasik's board right now, it just feels like the natural power of this lobby. 3 gold augments. He's arriving on his units a little bit late. This board's still not 2-star across the board. And I wouldn't call your items ideal, but they're pretty strong. Just a lot of things that Dasik's having to work against here.
He's going up against Shingo, who has the Itis and the Deja. This is a really scary board mix.
Absolutely. There is a Nila in place as well, but she is on to the enemy. Soraka might just knock that one out of the park. I always feel like with the Lagoon comms, you have to look for the Nila. She is going to be your secondary, sometimes even main carry, and definitely the girl you want to look after.
Wow, this is actually a great win for Dasik for multiple reasons, but I'm also seeing the payoff of choosing to prioritize Dragon's Claw onto Silas. You see all these Dejas, while they attack with Wind Blast, they're just not able to get the damage going, and they're stuck on Silas for 10, 20 seconds of a round.
And we're coming in this carousel here. This is often a big tipping point as well for 4-5, where players very often going to hold onto their gold, look for that next spike that comes into place. Sometimes they wait till after Treasure Dragon, but Double 61 still on a win streak after a first place finish in the previous lobby. Soju still on a win streak, sitting at 52 health, consistently since Dan had pointed out that they went for that strong roll, that the Rengar was a critical find for the board, and it absolutely has been paying off.
And you contrast that with Soju's items. Look at Shinga having 4 components open. He didn't slam anything. Soju has everything slammed. So things are working out very well for Soju, at least on paper.
Yeah, somebody else that needs to find the angle that Soju has, a Slooper. Rest of the lobby is going to level 8 here. We see them find additional units, just stabilizing even further. Dasik finding the Soam too is going to be really, really important for him. And Soju finding yet another Rengar pair. I was waiting for the Rengar 3 to pop up, but not yet. Shungo, Deja to Paradise, Itis to everybody's just hitting left and right here. And Slooper didn't roll, didn't level. Next one is probably going to hurt.
And this is a bad matchup too. It does have the Jax on the correct side, so at least he can dodge the couple of autos from the Deja and stall, but that's really not enough because he's lacking damage to get through the front line. And also, despite having things like his TG on the Xiaoyu, is just not really impactful enough. This is a full wipe almost. Thankfully, Siphon kills a couple more units, but we can't take many more losses like this. And now you see the weakness of the Jade composition. It's just so expensive. He's stuck in a rock and a hard place. Do I roll at 7 for these 2-star dragons, or do I try to go to 8?
Something interesting that we are seeing in the top left corner, I am happy to report, that is the off-stream lobby. And we are getting a little bit of a peek into what is going on there. Lelouch taking 8th place. And then at the very top, it is going to be Juan Mie with a win streak for now.
He doesn't have a win streak. He just have a win streak. He has a Hecarim 3 with Death Cap and Jewel Gauntlet.
Yeah.
I think the base damage is, what, 2,000 from Hecarim? So it's just doing crazy amount of damage.
It's also just a ridiculously long stun that takes place. Like, how do you recover from that?
I'm not entirely sure. That's right. It's 8 seconds, I think.
Like the next game, your board is stunned. And it's like,
it's
you cube the ladder, your
well.
board's still stunned. The Hecarim 3's forever.
Juan Mie is a sicko. I can't believe he's going to go first again with an unusual 4-cost 3-cost.
I love that personally, but for now, we're going to check in with yet another favorite. Soju here, meeting up with Shungo. We saw how Soju stabilized the board. Will the Dark Flights be able to take out the Deja is going to be the big question. Rengar's hopping right into her Wind Blast, but Aphelios finishes off the job.
Yeah, I think that the big thing about Treasure Dragon for Soju is he's going to prioritize more utility, or he's going to prioritize a 3rd Swain item. He has a cloak. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for another cloak, and we have an Order Treasure Dragon, so we can even fish for our super powerful item. He's already introduced with one, though. Locket is not bad. He has Better Together. He ends up passing it, but these are some really tough decisions.
It's very tough. I am looking at this one as like a maybe. It could be a big deal. Plus the Zeke's on this one. And again, I want to look at the bottom and scale our way up here. We have a moment to take a step back and look at this. Slooper sitting at 18 HP. My Paradise sitting at 26. And Fritz sitting at 27 right now with a 30 from Dasik. Dasik has been able to stabilize the board, climb back with a 3-win streak here. But looking at My Paradise, the big difference here is that he's sitting at 42 gold. Slooper is sitting at 0 gold right now. Slooper absolutely has to have the board in place now, or this is going to be an 8th.
absolutely. We see another player who has been rolling to 0, still missing 1 copy of that Xiaoyu. Fritz would have loved to find that additional unit on this Soifin comp, but she's not going to come out here. We see on the right side 3 players currently on the lookout for those Jade Siphon boards. Fritz, Looper, and Beantum kind of holding hands here.
Yes, indeed. And this board, the boards are just across are stacked through and through. I mentioned the 4 or 5 spot. We saw a bunch of 2-star dragons pop up, but here is a big fight versus double 61 right now. This is feeling like some must-win situations to really get the ball rolling here. And for Fritz, we're seeing the charge come through, but ultimately it's getting focused. So the Titans here really holding down with alongside that Hextech Gunblade to keep the healing up from the Radiant. The Xiaoyu finds its way to the back line. That pop-up feels like enough. That snowballed the damage there. KC11's taking a big hit.
Yep, double 61 needs to find that Deja too if he wants to be competitive for this stage. Fritz, if he hits this Xiaoyu, actually could make a really deep run. His itemization is fantastic. He finds a Soraka to replace the Wukong. That is massive. All of a sudden, if we can hit Xiaoyu too, this is the variation of the composition that people say is the strong version that people want to play.
Yeah, there is something else going on, though. My Paradise just found an Aesol too, and I was a little bit worried because he was streaking at the very early and the beginning of the mid-game, was leading the lobby, and then seemed to be free-falling, bleeding out, and we see what was going on here is on a little bit of a Guardian angle, and will meet up with Fritz, who just found the Soraka that we talked about.
I mean, this is not a bad fight matchup. Aesol actually is much stronger versus Jade. Soifin, not after Soifin bites the Aurelion Soul, does end up escaping the Rampage, but it's much stronger if you're able to scale and get the Ascension.
Guardian Shield.
Guardian
Shield.
Rampage charges away, but just doesn't look like we're able to kill the Xiaoyu. The healing from the Soraka is also so massive, and I think that as much as My Paradise is collecting gold, he might just be dead, and he is in 8th place.
It's just the Soraka, such a punishing effect there. You know, Dan got super hyped about seeing it, and in that matchup in particular, it can really change things because the Aurelion Soul, you're trying to deliver this damage, you're chipping out over time with the big scaling effect of the black hole hitting the entire board. That's completely neutralized by Soraka.
Yeah, I was really excited about the Aesol. In the end, it wasn't enough to blast his enemies into oblivion, but we're going to check in with Dasik. Dasik and Slooper both on single digits here. This might just be the last fight for Dasik. He did find a Nila, he did find a Soam. We're seeing the removers being left open, and he will meet with Slooper. One of these is going to get knocked out.
I mean, it might be a pretty good matchup here because Lagoon was a counter to the Soifin meta. If he's able to capitalize, Nila does end up taking a big bite, but the Edge of Night keeps it safe, and that's why it's a really important item. And no one's tagging the Somm, and now we're scaling with Earth's Angel to the final stage. I just don't think it's enough. Slooper might be dead, and it is. It's a top 6 for Dasik.
Wow. I mean, somebody has to lose, unfortunately. I was really excited to see that board go a little bit further. Now, Soju also getting knocked off from the win streak that he had going on. Shungo double and Soju are all up there trying, wriggling around and fighting for those top spots.
It's really important that Slooper died because his death is Fritz's gain, and Fritz can get that Xiaoyu too. Again, I think he's going to make a deep run in this game because he's well positioned. He has good traits as well. He's prioritizing Mystics, hit that Soraka. So he's a player that I'm looking forward to maybe to get to that top 4 alongside Soju and Shinga. It's really about who can get that 4th spot in the top 4 and maybe fight for that 1st place.
Yeah. I'm looking at the positioning from the last one. You know, a lot of times it's kind of a terrifying look when you see a Xiaoyu on the same side as your Somm in this spot. It's one of like the main priorities you have for Xiaoyu is getting it to the back line and cracking that damage that they have. Just not able to get done. No items, not a Xiaoyu too. So Dasik's positioning very comfortable in that spot. And honestly, despite the fact they're at such a low health total, the Dragon's Claw I feel like is really holding down this front line and giving enough time.
Yeah, we're going to see the board in action one more time. Let's see who he's going to meet up with. It will be KC Double with the Deja 2 Idas 2 board. And I'm once again just going to focus on that Nyla. She is on to the Soraka, going to take her around. One more slice and the Deja falls. It is just annihilation by this Nyla. She is gonna take anything down in her path, and Dasik is going to find another win here, one way or another.
This is what we're talking about with Assassins, the power of Nila, where you're able to get to the backline axis and kill things like Deja, and you're able to, more importantly, protect Somm. And this is why I wasn't picking Casey Double to be one of those candidates in top 4, because I just think that his board has a lot of weaknesses that's being exploited. There's multiple assassin threats. Soju also has Rengar, but then if you clump everything, that means you're so much weaker against the AoE that can punish that. How does Double 61 solve this puzzle that's right now in front of him?
You know, that's an excellent question. I mean, it's, you know, I'm looking around for it, but I just, you know, I can't really find out what it is. There's a particular word I'm looking for. I'm not sure I should use it. So for Double 61 right now, I feel like it's all about positioning. It's dodge the assassins, it's get in the right spot, and make sure that the wind blasts are targeting that corner and punishing it.
I mean, you look at what Shringo is trying to do, but a Zephyr from Daisik on the front line, trying to get backline access immediately.
Yeah, that's really, really beautiful. However, his front line on the other side is going to get taken out by that Bard for a second, is not going to stop them from moving on to the Deja. Once more she falls, and once more Daisik will try and clutch this one out. There is a Yasuo that's still blocking the path, but he has now also fallen. And I just want to direct your attention to something else, because Tech Summers, you were speaking about them, Nathan. Yasuo 3 in our lobby.
North America, let's go!
He's Argentinian, stop
Oh,
it!
kiss my red, white, and blue ass!
How do you beat a Yasuo 3? It's just not possible!
Let's go!
Look
Tech
at
Summers.
him!
Well, I mean, Tech Summers clearly is in a position and very favorite, but the underdog here is Daisik. He's doing an excellent job. This has been a tough game for Daisik from start to finish. No easy ZZ rots, but I think the way he's constructed his board is really intelligent. He's clearly out-positioning in every edge he can get. He is locked in, but he has absolutely zero margin for error.
He's going for a Nyla 3. Nyla 3.
Soju found the Rengar 3.
Okay.
So that's going to be a big, big upgrade for him. The Stabby Tabby is online.
Go back to Daisik!
Daisik, I want to see if he hits the Nyla 3.
He's rolling. He has a duplicator on the bench. One more.
One more Nyla! Oh, they're running out of gold. Okay, the Soul 3's got grabbed. That's a little bit of pocket gold. Just a couple more. One more Nyla.
Come
One more
on.
Nyla. It's not going to be found.
He's running out of time.
This hurts.
He didn't scout for his Zephyr. He's just trying to go for a Hail Mary, hoping that it hits the right unit.
Honestly, pretty good positioning here, despite everything that happened.
Yeah, the Zephyr is going to lift up that Pantheon, going to take out a little bit of extra damage here, but we're going to find out whether or not it's enough. The Nyla is dealing with the Siphon at the moment, but she is losing so much health. It's going to go down. That was your secondary carry. The Siphon moves on to the zone and takes out Daisik.
Despairs. That was just so close as Daisik. You know, we talked about how when Fritz gets online, that comp is actually very strong. His augments were really powerful, and you saw exactly why that is. Just unable to finish. That damage reduction kept that Siphon just barely alive to heal back up and go for another bite, and it's just all cyclical there. Very difficult fight for Daisik.
Soju taking a hit as we get a glimpse at the board right now. You know, inherently, there is a natural cap, I feel like, to this Darkflight board. The idea is that the rest of the lobby is fighting and kind of getting a snowball effect and really taking that out as we get a glimpse into some of the other lobbies that are taking place.
Sohm 3 against Varus 3?
Yeah, Sohm
maybe not the equal matchup here.
Noticing a lot of 3-stars in the other lobbies right now.
Why are we not getting those?
And we have 3-star Rengar, and this is not a good matchup for Soju. I think that's probably why he might not even top 4. This has traditionally been very hard because Siphon can ignore the big resistances when he goes for the bite. Here comes another Rampage. Rengar 3 does end up dealing a pretty good bit of damage and dropping the aggression, but I just don't think Soju can do it. This is such a tough matchup for Darkflight, and I think it's another bot 4 for Soju.
Beantum also getting knocked out here. It was so close, but Soju not managing to claw into this one. Shungo actually losing so much health here. 5 HP remain as Fritz has clawed his way up. You were predicting this with Slooper getting knocked out. It allowed him to build out that board, and he's showing it off here in the top 3.
Yeah, but also on the other hand, Double 61 makes me eat my words. This guy's already in top 3 again. The Deja boards are able to prevail. More importantly, they were able to make sure that their counter matchups would die, right? Like, if the Nilo 3 came in through, these players would just be wiped because the Nilo was able to kill those Dejas. There's no damage left. Excellent job by these 3 players.
Yeah, they're just going to position for the best possible case, but we're going to go in with Fritz against Casey Double.
Yeah, and for Shunga, this is a must-win scenario right now, and your Deja is not on the right side for this. The charge comes in, bites. that Deja in the back line, and look at the focus here. This damage is absolutely not being directed in the right spot. Frankly, I'm seeing a tough time for this Deja right now. This is a lot that you have stacked up against. The positioning quite nice to buy a lot of time, so you are building up the damage from those Rage Blades plus Dispel Swords. This is enough to get it done. I'm actually very surprised by this, Dan.
Well, you know, this is a tough matchup for Jade and Soifan if the Deja is able to lock onto things like the Xiaoyu and Siphon pretty early, because there's so many things that are next to Deja that Siphon can't guarantee that bite, and Idas is very difficult to deal with when stacked with a bunch of HP. Tons of dragons onto the board as well, so will this be enough to push any player over the edge? Because Double 61 is on track to win back-to-back lobbies.
Double 61 going with the spatula here. He must have something specific in mind to do with that. Is going to go to level 9 here.
Emblem.
Oh, it's
and gonna make that Mirage Emblem.
Wow,
Lovely.
that's a big upgrade for Spell Sword.
Well, I mean, he's able to take out a weak Mirage and then stay on 6 by putting on Soraka, so now her Starfall is going to heal that much more. And remember, the longer your units like Idas and your Guardians stay alive, the more you're able to stack that AP. Double 61 has constructed such an intelligent board, and it's no wonder he was able to pull himself out of that bot 4 deficit.
Yeah, and Double 61 might just knock out Shungo as these two players meet up. Shungo needs a win here to survive. Just found the Bard too, but will it be enough? The Dejas are blasting away. Bard comes in for Shungo, tries to help here, tries to get that little damage in, and the Yasuo is stuck on the Idas as the Rage Blades are stacking up very equally right now. But the Wind Blast of KC Double's Deja is just so perfect. It's going to take everything out here, and it's a 1v1 that KC Double is going to win. Gonna knock out Shungo in 3rd place.
That Idas is just unkillable. That was entire 30 seconds of focusing onto that Idas, but Stoneplate Gargoyle, the Warmogs, and the Declaw is the perfect counter to the opponent's Deja.
Yeah, plus you have the Guardians on there as well. So you're having to chew through the shields that has the Dragon Claw, that has the Stoneplate on this one. Like, that's so much damage you have to deliver as we go into this final fight right here, where I feel like, Dan, positioning is everything.
It's positioning everything, and Double 61 has the opportunity to try and solo or clump up to try to protect the Deja.
So here we go. A lot of little last-second movement as we come into this one right now. For Double 61, it's not a must-win. For Fritz, though, this feels like everything. The Deja on a nice side, the charge not coming close right now. The Idas taking some pretty heavy damage, but ultimately one of your main units just fell before it got a second cast even. And I am not liking the position that Fritz is in right now. This is a lot of damage that's cranking in from Xiaoyu, but you have nowhere else to fall once this aggro gets dropped. It is a solo focus on a Xiaoyu, and guess what? Double 61 is going to deliver a big hit and claim the 2nd lobby of the day in just 2 games.
He has done it again. Back-to-back 1st place EMEA champion of last set. KC Double coming through here. We love to see it. And with that, I'm just going to include you guys if you want it or not.
Sure, yeah, why not? Double win. Double 61 with the double victory. I mean, it only makes sense.